For Honor. Either you hate it, or you hate it and still play it. Those seem to be the two options in the game's current state. If you've been following my channel, you know that I have my own love-hate relationship with this game. If you're new around here, I fucking hate this game, but I also have over 200 hours played. Let me explain.
And I ain't too proud to tell you that I cry sometimes. I cry sometimes about it.
I first played For Honor in the open beta and was enticed enough by it to pre-order the game and even start making videos about it. They started out garbage as to be expected from a channel with less than 300 subscribers and no motivation whatsoever. As I continued to shitpost silly videos and played this game, my Peacekeeper guide miraculously exploded into over 100,000 views, and before I knew it, I had a community of over 20,000 people watching my stuff. So it goes without saying that For Honor is very closely tied to me, and what was then a guiding angel carrying me to the light is quickly becoming a 300-pound bowling ball chained to my leg, pulling me to the abyss of dead channels. Not because For Honor is completely irrelevant, but more because my creativity is draining faster than you can say this game needs dedicated servers. And no, I'm not going to get into that argument here because A, I don't know anything about developing video games, B, that's far from the point I'm trying to make, and C, there is no C. The first month or two of playing For Honor was the most engaged I've been in a multiplayer game since Battlefield 3, which is saying something considering I can recall losing an entire night's sleep over that game on more than 2 or 24 occasions. The game wasn't perfect by any means, and as much as I was aware of this, I still thoroughly enjoyed playing it. So much so that I made a regrettable video defending the game on the merits that it's actually pretty fucking balanced. Although this statement is completely false, I still believe there is more to be said about this game. So 4 months and over 200 hours of play later, I'm finally going to make what you might call a review. Yay. I'm going to start off with the negatives because there are far more of these and it's also the reason you're watching. It seems like the vast majority of For Honor players bask in their own hatred of the game that they play every single day, which makes about as much sense as making a review for a game you can no longer tolerate, but hey, I call it how I see it. The biggest shortcoming For Honor has is easily the peer-to-peer matchmaking system. Not only does it take what feels like 10 minutes to find a match, but you've also got a pretty good chance of getting your ass booted back to the main menu halfway through, assuming the other 7 players don't rage quit first. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I don't know a damn thing about developing video games, but just because I'm not an architect doesn't mean that I can't tell that this castle is pretty fucking unstable. I understand the devs are working to improve this, and it's important to be patient, but the For Honor community doesn't seem to have any problem with finding a dead horse and just keeping the fucking beating going. Look through the comments on any Baus Phoenix video and you'll find about 200 comments screaming dedicated servers and another 200 weighing in on exactly how to balance their least favorite characters.
Sure, Warden can basically choose how they'd like to win a fight, but have you seen how fast Peacekeeper hits?
Balance is an issue in this game, yes, because it's an issue in every competitive multiplayer game. As soon as one problem is fixed, another arises. It's an endless cycle of fixing one thing and breaking another until eventually your game dies out or you release a sequel. However, there is certainly a lot of work that needs to go into balancing this game because while it will never be perfect, it can certainly be better than whatever the fuck it is right now. Now let's take a break from the hot topics and touch on something everyone forgot about. Story mode. Don't worry, we're still on the negatives because this story mode has about as much depth as The Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 6. For those of you that didn't catch that extremely specific reference, that was the awful hour-and-a-half long Terra episode where nothing really happened and nobody really talks about it. Which pretty accurately sums up the For Honor story. An angry doggo named Apollyon wants everybody to fight because conflict, and so everybody fights, and eventually somebody has to kill her. You take a turn as each faction, switching between a few different heroes along the way, but I couldn't tell you exactly which heroes given that I only ever finished the night section of the game. I suppose you could attribute this to some sort of sloth-like laziness, but I think it speaks for itself that after 200 hours of play, I'm still a third of the way through an 8-hour campaign with no intention of getting any further. Not that anyone was expecting anything life-changing from a company that doesn't even always have a campaign, but I'm an overcritical prick, so what can I say? Speaking of things that don't really even need to be in the game, we have the faction war. After playing and winning matches, you get a certain amount of war assets that you can deploy in a platform-wide territory war. It's the equivalent of voting for anything but Rust in Modern Warfare 2. Sure, your vote technically counts for something, but are you really gonna make any difference? Or voting Libertarian in an upcoming US election. Sure, there's technically a measurable effect when you really get to crunching numbers, but at the end of the day, you might as well vote for Pedro, or in terms of For Honor, just automatically spread your troops everywhere. Maybe this type of thing isn't for me, but I don't really get any satisfaction out of playing 20 matches and deploying my troops in the same spot every time, only to see it rise from a 50% to a fucking 50%. So as much as the developers are tweaking it and people are shouting about it being a group effort, it's still useless and about as much fun as having to grind one character for hours on end so that you can actually win in team game modes, which is also a thing in this game. Now, a lot of this review is opinion-based because that's what a fucking review is, but with gear score, I feel like I'm actually in the minority, so I have to remind people not to get their angry bull ornament in a twist. The gear system in this game is awful. Call me a casual gamer, but when I play a game for as long as I've played this one and still don't have a single character at even half the max gear score, I start to feel like there's a problem. The last time I talked about this, I got more comments that I could count informing me that there is no gear score in dual game modes, and I honestly had no idea. I've never once played anything but 4v4. That was sarcasm, by the way. I'm not completely fucking oblivious. Yes, you can play duels without gear score, but what if I have 3 friends that want to play with me? I guess I'll just go fuck myself?
Oh, but Shmolty, why don't you just get good instead of bitching and moaning about the game?
Well, to be blunt, I can think of about 200 ways to better use my time, one of which is watching Bob Ross paint happy little mistakes on Netflix, because at least then I'd be entertained, and hell, I might actually learn a thing or two. The only thing I've learned from playing For Honor is just how hateful a community of gamers can be. I can't tell you how many times I won a fight and got a response somewhere between "that character is no fair" and "I hope your children get cancer and fucking die, you whore." Whether that's some sort of rebellion against the honor concept that the game gently nudges you into is up for debate, but either way, it's certainly present and can detract from or enhance the experience depending on your perspective. So, I've covered in detail every reason why I despise this game on many different occasions, partly because it was fun and also because I wanted these things to change, but regardless of my issues with the game, I still kept playing, for months in fact. It wasn't until very recently that I felt a genuine burnout, and I haven't touched the game in over 2 weeks. Aside from the endless negativity, this game does have some great potential and can be really enjoyable in the right state of mind. Most of the fun comes from the spirit of competition, learning your opponent's attacks and strategies, and then using your own skill set to best them in the art of combat. Or more accurately, spamming your hero's vortex until the other player stops moving. But the point is, it's rewarding to win fights. It's like an addiction, a primal instinct unleashing. Like a lion catching and conquering its prey, or like injecting of marijuanas. I hear that's pretty cool. And regardless of how imbalanced the heroes might be, most of them are truly unique and fun to use. The Peacekeeper is fast and lethal with deadly bleed attacks, but very little health. Shigoki is enormous and hits like a truck, but slow and predictable. Each character has their own unique feel and learning curve, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't have an absolute blast figuring it out. Really, that's what kept me playing this game. Aside from the outrageous amount of views it got me, I actually enjoyed making guides for each character that I mastered. On top of that, the game looks and sounds phenomenal. I can't say that I've actually ever been involved in a sword fight or even witnessed one in real life, but For Honor certainly convinces me at the very least that this is what it might look like. I feel like an absolute badass smashing through the grunts in Dominion like Jon Targaryen smashing through White Walkers. Spoiler alert, fuck. You can actually feel the tension of a duel, especially when you find the perfect opponent who can keep the fight interesting without bending you over and forcing you to clean their floor like a little bitch. Getting thrown off the edge repeatedly or headbutted to death can often make you feel like a servant. A sex servant because you're getting fucked. But really, it can be a ton of fun. The fighting part, not the... you get it. While I despise gear stats, the customization in this game is actually pretty well done. The designs and engravings that can be applied to various parts of your hero can make for some really badass looking warriors, and I can't deny it's fun to play dress up every now and again. You can also change the look of pieces of gear that might have better bonuses but look like dog shit to match something else that you have. I think the incentive for cosmetics is actually more compelling than trying to get a revenge bonus, especially given that they apply in every game mode aside from the colors. Also, I really like to play dress up, as is demonstrated by my glowing galactic tuxedo. The last real positive that this game has is the way the DLC is being handled. In a gaming world where companies will charge you $30 extra to play maps that you've already had for years, it's pretty cool to see that some developers do it right. Each DLC comes with 2 new maps that are completely free to the public and 2 heroes that can be bought with the in-game currency. The only reason to pay extra money for the season pass is to get access to the characters early, or if you're too lazy to earn steel. Fucking ingenious. But what's the point of a DLC plan if your game is dead by the second release, right? Because that's the For Honor story. It has been for a while now. I can already see the swarm of comments telling me it's pointless to review this dead game. And it's pretty funny that a lot of people shouting this shit the loudest are some of the few people who still play. Shit, if I didn't know any better, I might say that the same community that built For Honor destroyed it. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I led you to believe you hated this game when you didn't. Maybe I inspired you to embrace the hate and not to fight it off. Maybe I killed For Honor. Or maybe you're just making excuses. I don't think For Honor's completely over with though. It has some serious issues that can't be overlooked, but overall there's a lot of fun to be had here. Contrary to popular belief or what I might show in my videos, I actually would be happy to see this game bounce back, much like Rainbow Six Siege did. But in its current state, I can't really recommend this game. As much as I want this game to be great, it just isn't right now. And I know that's pretty fucked up coming from a channel that built its success from this game, but hey, I call it how I see it.